So it looks like there's finally an agreement for the US debt ceiling, but is the stock market going to rise if this agreement hasn't even been confirmed by Congress? Now, I explained this very little in my video yesterday where the news was announced that Biden and McCarthy came to an agreement, and it was somewhat just of a settlement, right? Not everyone got what they wanted, but they compromised on both sides of things. Republicans compromised, but so did the Democrats. Now, one thing that I spoke about is that it's good that McCarthy and Biden came to an agreement, but Congress still needs to vote. Like, this isn't passed yet, right? And does this mean that the market could drop before we could actually rise, right? I wanted to share this article with you that I found to be very interesting. You guys let me know in the comment section if you guys like these videos. I just found what he said to be very interesting, and you guys let me know down in the comment section. I'm going to start sharing my screen again. This is NASDAQ, but again, this is by CNN Business, and it says, don't expect the market to rejoice about the debt ceiling deal. So let me go ahead and press play.
And president of the Global Policy Institute at Loyola Marymount University. A pleasure to have you with us.
Great to be back, Rosemary.
We are just 9 days away from America possibly defaulting on its national debt. If President Biden and Kevin McCarthy can't strike a deal to raise the debt limit, we're hearing that progress was made in those talks on Monday, but it's still only 9 days to make a deal, get it written up as a bill, and pass through both the House and Senate by June 1st. Is that even possible at this juncture?
Well, we're cutting it down to the wire, and things are getting hotter than lava in Washington because the two sides are still apparently quite far apart. Both sides know the seriousness of this, but that doesn't mean that they're going to be able to make a deal. This is unusual because it's a manufactured crisis. Since 1960, we've raised the debt ceiling over 90 times.
90.
Under Democrats and Republicans with little debate and little controversy. We did it 3 times during the Trump years. So why now? What's the magic of now that we're coming to this crisis that could just send us over a cliff? The problem is that the Republicans want to conflate apples and oranges, debt and budget. The Democrats want to separate those two things because they're separate. And so therein lies the rub. So who's going to be the adult in the room? Who is going to save us from ourselves? That's the question.
And if this country defaults on its national debt because US politicians essentially fail to do their job, which Americans will be hit hardest, do you think?
You and I, always.
Well, we've never failed to pay the debt. And so this is unknown territory.
Yeah.
We do know that there will be some serious consequences, mostly for people on Social Security, government services, the military, who may take weeks to get their paycheck until it gets sorted out. And so at a time when the US economy is actually quite robust, the Economist in England just had a story celebrating the strength of the US economy, in which they said that the US accounts for 58% of the gross domestic product of the G7 nations, just the United States. And that's up from 40% in 1990. And so why mess with success? I think the problem is that the two sides facing the 2024 election, one side doesn't want the economy to be so good, and so they're willing to take that risk. And so it's time to put up the bat signal and sort of light a fire underneath both sides.
And Michael, at what point will it be too late to act? And if that happens, what will default look like for this country's people and, of course, its economy?
We have 2 weeks. Maybe a little more if we're lucky. That's cutting it very close because average citizens are going to suffer tremendously. The bond market will suffer. The stock market will go down. In 2011, when we got close to this, the stock market went down almost 20 points. And we didn't hit the crisis. We didn't default. If we go into default mode, the rest of the world's going to know that we're not good for our word. We're not good to pay our debts. And that's going to have a ripple effect. It's going to be devastating for the American economy in the long run.
Do you see any place for President Biden to invoke Section 4 of the 14th Amendment to the Constitution? Or perhaps is there any other option that could help bypass Congress if it fails to raise the debt limit in time?
It's funny how we've dusted off this obscure subsection of the 14th Amendment, which says that the validity of the public debt, and these are the four words that matter, shall not be questioned. Powerful words, unambiguous intent, but the who and the how is not spelled out. And some legal scholars are now saying that the president does have this authority. I'm not so sure. I'm not completely convinced because it's an untested legal theory. We've never been here before. And in 2011, when we got close under the Obama presidency, the Justice Department issued a ruling and which it recommended that, in fact, they do not believe the president has this authority. So we don't really know. We don't know if the president can do this. There's no other option. Either you go into default, you make a deal, or the president has to pull out this odd element of the 14th Amendment that may or may not be constitutionally valid.
Well, hopefully they make a deal and they make it fast. Michael Genovese, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your analysis. Always appreciate it.
Thank you, Rosemary.
All right, there we go. So again, the thing that they ended with is that if Congress doesn't come to an agreement, right? It's like, let's say there is an agreement as of right now on the table for Congress to vote on. Both Republicans and Democrats have the option of, voting for it or voting against it. And if enough people vote against it, this is the concern. So this is where the concern is that, okay, McCarthy and Biden came to an agreement that they think is enticing enough for people in Congress, both Republicans, Democrat, to agree with, to compromise with. But this is the concern a lot of people have right now, that if both Republicans and Democrats, not enough of people support this agreement, then again, we're back to square one. Can Biden, invoke the 14th Amendment to try to bypass Congress, and will that even stick, right? So he talked about that we've raised the debt ceiling 90 times. And just during Trump's run in the 4 years, right, he raised it 3 times, right? And there's normally little to no controversy during these increase of limits, right? But this time, things are different. And it always comes down to we're getting very close to the 2024 election, and each party wants the economy, wants the U.S. to be in a specific position that might be more favorable for them, so then they can, of course, leverage the vote of the people for a better next 4 years. Again, when they ask the question, well, who's going to end up being hurt the most? It's always, you guys can let me know down in the comment section maybe if you disagree, but in my opinion, it's always people like you and I, right? It's always people that it's always going to be the taxpayers. Supposedly, according to this bill, they're not going to raise taxes anymore. That was one of the compromises, and that they're going to slow down in specific government spending. For the next 2 years, right? So they're going to cut back on spending on specific government programs, which I'm sure was a request by the Republicans. I really hope that we just make it by the deadline. I know originally the deadline was set to be June 1st. Supposedly the deadline is now June 5th. We'll see how the market reacts. I'm waiting for NASDAQ futures to open up, for Dow futures to open up, for S&P 500 futures to open up. They do open up on Sunday, but because of the 3-day Memorial Day weekend, I'm not sure if they will open up and how the market will react. I'll make sure that I keep you guys up to date just like I did today, and following up with yesterday's video. As I learn more about this agreement and more of the details, I'll keep you guys up to date here on YouTube and of course on Instagram. Remember guys, if you have any questions whatsoever, you're always welcome to send me a direct message, and that's going to be the first link in the description down below. I do want to let you guys know, again, there's only 7 days left for our GTR giveaway. If you guys haven't entered already, remember, for every new person that signs up for Learn Plan Profit 2.0, you will earn 10,000 automatic entries for the GTR giveaway. And also, you can head on over to shoptechbuds.com, and for every $1 that you spend, it now equals 20 automatic entries. So that's at shoptechbuds.com, or the fourth link in the description down below. There's 7 days, 15 hours, and 56 minutes from the time I'm recording this video. Please, again, if you want to partake in this GTR giveaway, there's 2 ways to enter. One, by buying stuff at shoptechbuds.com. Every dollar equals 20 entries. Or you can sign up for LPP 2.0. It's a one-time payment, lifetime access. It's our biggest sale. It's $175 off. This is definitely the biggest bang for your buck, especially if you want the ability to watch me trade live every day. This will get you 10,000 entries, which is a $2,000 value. I really do appreciate you guys' time. Hope that we're in a thumbs up. Please consider subscribing. And like always, let's make sure that we end the year on a green note. Take it easy, team.